Union Confederation and also convene the Commonwealth Trade Union Group, which has 70 million members in only about 40 countries. So I'd be interested in discussing with you how you get bigger than that, because some of the smaller island states will find it a bit more difficult. Globally we have 200 million members in 164 countries and territories, so it's quite a large movement. Obviously many of our members, many trade union members, have a disability. Obviously our focus is on the workplace, but you won't be surprised to know, obviously, because it is stating the obvious, but sometimes needs stating, that we have a wider focus on disabled people's rights, because our disabled members don't stop being trade union members and don't stop being disabled when they get out of work. They're still obviously subject to discrimination. And as I think probably Richard will remember, I've worked on these issues for 30 years since I was working in the UK on trade union disability issues. At an international level, I think it's probably true to say that at the moment trade union focuses on these issues are about disability as rights issues generally and combating discrimination, but possibly not specifically enough. You know, we're covered. Maphilius, I think, mentioned the International Labour Organization, and the ILO does a lot of work on disability rights and disability in employment. And obviously we rely on Convention 111 on discrimination in employment, but that's all sorts of discrimination, not just disability. And then again, not just in terms of trade unions, at trade union level, and I think this goes to some of the things that Tudor was saying, we support self-organisation of disabled people, obviously, in their trade unions, but we also want to get disabled workers into the decision-making bodies of trade unions so that they can then influence the collective bargaining agendas of those unions and make sure that precisely it is not things being done for disabled workers, it is disabled workers setting their own agendas. And we support obviously the social model of disability, but that doesn't stop us dealing with practical issues such as adaptation at the workplace, social protection, universal health care, as well as anti-discrimination legislation generally. And we want to work more closely with the Disabled People's Forum in the Commonwealth, and also develop more global links with disabled people's organisations, although our focus and to be honest, our accountability will always be given to disabled workers in trade unions. We're not outsourcing that to anyone. That's got to be done by the disabled workers themselves. As our Rwandan colleague, sorry, I didn't catch his name, said, we need to work closely with the Rwandan chair in office over the next 2 years in the Commonwealth. One of the, I'm sorry, that was more of a statement than a question, but I do have a question, which is the trade union movement in the Commonwealth is pretty homogenous. It's mostly based on there are obviously problems with this. It's mostly based on the British model of trade unionism and echoes that largely. But I would be interested in knowing how the disabled people's movement in the Commonwealth in individual countries has grown up. Is there a common pattern, or is it as diverse as disabled people are themselves? So I would be interested in how your organisations, how your movements have developed in different countries, and whether there is, whether there's a single model of disabled people's representation in Commonwealth countries or a variety.